Hi, welcome to In Case You Want to Know. I don't assume you want to know this information, but if you do, hang on and subscribe. Comment, send your requests if you desire. Today we're going to talk about temperaments. Your temperament is not the same as your personality. The temperament is the way you are. Your personality is the way you have adapted to society. So one is innate. This is, you're born with your temperament. And your personality is acquired. In other words, you learn it based on your environment. Now, some people have the idea and the thinking that when we talk about temperaments, it's the same as talking about the zodiac. Well, not quite. Because we're not going to talk about anything astrological here. So if you want to input that, that'll be you doing that. We're only going to talk about characteristics that have been studied and that have been classified and identified. This will be part one today, so that we won't do everything. As we go, we'll talk about colors, the different temperaments like, etc. And some of this will be video presentation, but today we'll start with a board presentation, a written presentation. Hopefully you can read my writing. And we'll deal with 5 temperaments in our study. We'll deal with the sanguine temperament, we'll deal with the choleric temperament, we'll deal with the melancholic temperament. Those are terminologies that you may be most familiar with. Melancholic temperament, we'll deal with the phlegmatic temperament. And the supine, or some books will call it the passive sanguine. All right, if those of you who like to read, you can find this information in Transformed Temperaments by Tim LaHaye. And your personality tree. by Florence Littauer. Those books will provide a lot of information to you if you're that interested. Let me give you some buzzwords for each of these temperaments. In other words, they will suggest their main characteristic or the main characteristic for this particular temperament, each temperament. And people who have these particular temperaments will tend to exhibit these characteristics. Fun is the bottom line for the sanguine. No matter what, they want fun. They are your life of the party, so to speak. The choleric is control. These people you don't usually have to search for. They find you because they like to control you, them, everything around them. Melancholy, order. For the phlegmatic, their bottom line is peace at any cost. And by saying that, they'll do almost anything to get peace or to have peace. And the sanguine, the supine, their bottom line is service. So when we start looking at the sanguine, we see people who have fun. They tend to be limited in their focus. In other words, they usually do one thing at a time. They like people. They're people. They're the extreme extrovert, or they can be. If nobody's talking and they're by themselves, they may fold into themselves. They like to have at least a TV or radio, some noise, something that with people, they don't like to be alone. They don't like to eat alone. They don't like to do anything alone. Fun at any cost. They tend to not take seriously much. They need to make it light so they're the life of the party, so to speak. A serious matter doesn't come their way as such because they give very little attention to that kind of thing. They have short attention spans as a rule, where they focus on very few things because that's just not where they are. Their idea is to have fun. Y'all control everything. Y'all do that other stuff. They don't want to do that. So we look at the choleric. The choleric is control. Control you, control them, control everybody. They also tend to be, they're usually combined with sanguines in that they like to have fun. They're kind of introvert, but they're extrovert too, with a spin on it. And that is, they're selective. They have an all y'all come policy, but it tends to be selective. Whereas the sanguine has an all y'all come, and it tends not to be selective. But if it's combined with the choleric, they tend to have a selective nature to it. The melancholy likes order. They tend to be introverts into themselves, are very isolated. Not many people in their span or their circle of influence. The phlegmatic likes peace. Get away with all the shenanigans, and they tend to be introverts too. All right, the supine tends to be service motivated, and they tend to be extroverts. Many of us have, there are people that we don't care for, and we have people that we get along with easily, and that tends to be dictated by our temperaments, unfortunately, until we learn better. And the word of God tells us that as much as lies within us, we're to live peaceably with all men. He also tells us that all souls are His. So there are unique giftings that we all have. There are unique characteristics that we all have, and that we can grow in the knowledge and the wisdom of God and learn how to get along with everybody. We like to say sometimes, it's an old saying, they're not my cup of tea. That usually means I don't see things, or I don't like to be around them, or I don't run with those people. And yeah, you shouldn't run with everybody, because we do have uniquenesses that are not necessarily all common, but we need to be able to seek to get along with all people, because no temperament is better than another. All of the temperaments are the same. All of them have equal value and equal worth. A diamond is a diamond. However, they're different cuts, but that doesn't mean they have, and that will determine their value sometimes, but it doesn't cease to be a diamond. So my point is, a rose is a rose is a rose. It's going to smell good regardless to its color, regardless to its size, regardless of its shape. It's going to smell like a rose. A rose by any other name is still a rose. And so as we look at these temperaments and you evaluate your personality, you may be able to see how you fit in and where you fit in. Usually temperaments cannot really be deciphered or determined except with or by testing. Because some people present one way, but they're actually another way. Like many of you cloak and you hide, you don't even know who you are. You don't know who the real you is, because you've been so busy many times dealing with your personality, trying to get along with people around you. And so we get fixated on our personalities as opposed to our temperaments, the way you be. And so that's what we'll talk about. The difference in the way you be as opposed to if we say is, that would be incorrect. So we can say you have become, but the way you be is who you are, without any of the shenanigans, without any of the huckabuck our pastor likes to say, without any, it's like your skeletal frame. It doesn't include the sinew, it doesn't include the muscles, it doesn't include the nerves, it doesn't include the skin. It's just who you are, if you can look at it that way. Your skeletal frame, that would be your temperament. The other stuff that you put on, the skin, the flesh, the muscles, all that would be your personality, the way you have become based on your external influences. Okay, I think that's enough for today. So if you have any questions or you want to explore this further, you can call us at area code 323-640-3925. Again, area code 323-640-3925. And I will answer you. In fact, I'll probably be the only one to answer your questions if you have any. And a person can be any of the temperaments all at once. But there is a predominant or a main one that you will have as a rule. There are some exceptions, very few, but there are some exceptions who test out in being major in all of the temperaments. Very few people. They're very unique. So we will conclude today with, in case you want to know. Okay, hope you subscribe, hope you like. See you next time.